how important is it to deal with the traumas, to deal with the anxieties, to deal with the depressions that you have, to find that balance and find that healing, you know, as you're on this journey as parents and when you're dealing with children and developing the young minds around you? How important is it to find that healing?
It's everything. I mean, we can't show our children or teach our children to be something that we ourselves are not.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're not confident, how can we expect to teach or project confidence so that our child has that as an example
Mm-hmm.
growing up? If we don't have it, we don't possess that, right? So I always say, we want to be able to do as much work as possible. And when I say work, I mean self-development work, whether it's you're going to therapy or you're doing it on your own by just getting to know that inner child. You'll always hear me talk about the inner child, because we as adults have unmet needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that comes from our past, from when we were children. What did we not get? What did we want the most? And how did those things make us feel? Did we feel worthy? Did we feel heard? Did we feel loved? Did we feel like we were lovable, accepted for who we are? And if we didn't, what did we do? What did we pick up along the way? What self-limiting beliefs did we pick up about ourselves along the way? What coping mechanisms did we take on to survive this terrible feeling inside of us along the way, right? Because we carry this. Unless
Mm-hmm.
we heal this, unless we actually become aware of this, because we want to do this work for ourselves, and we begin that process of getting to know us on a deeper level, which yes can be scary, but it is the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. Unless we begin that work, we're not going to free ourselves, and we're always going to project the result of those traumas. And if we have developing little minds and children in front of us, no matter how hard we try, that's what we're going to project. It's energy. And in little ways, and in different ways that we don't realize, we're going to be giving that information and that energy to our children.
That's very important. Because I always say household, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the house you was raised in, the house that developed your mind and heart, that house has a hold on you. So in my household, I was competing with my sisters, and not that I wanted what they had, but I felt invisible. So my sisters were smart. My sisters got all the attention. I didn't know how to read. I didn't know how to write. I didn't have a father. My younger brother was handicapped. So I'm a young man, a male energy. My energy is totally different. So I couldn't compete with my sisters with information, with education, with Barbie dolls or whatever they had going on. But it was one way I got all the attention. Guess what I did?
What was that?
I flipped everything over. I could out behave my
Mm-hmm.
sisters.
Yeah.
So even in class, that behavior in my house went to school.
Yep.
I can't compete with the smart kids. I can't read. I can't write. But I could jump on his desk.
Yeah.
I could throw the book. And this was a young man that wanted attention. I was crying for attention. I was crying to be loved. I was crying to be seen because I felt invisible. And I was going through so much trauma, being molested. And I wanted somebody to see me. I wanted somebody to love me. I wanted somebody to care. I got hit by a car 2 times. The first time I got hit, nothing happened. I just remember falling down and I got back up and I just ran. The second time I got hit, something that I'm unraveling now as a grown man, as a father, I got hit by a car, you know, like I did feel pain, but I wasn't hurt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and my family came out, I'm laying down, and then I seen my mother. This was the first time I seen care on my mother's face. I wanted to hold that face forever.
Mm-hmm. I got chills.
That was the longest car accident pain ever. I drag that pain out. I'm in the hospital faking like, and that's sad. I'm wasting the taxpayers' money and everything else. But I just want to, as this young kid, young man, finally my mother sees me.
Yeah.
My mother finally see me, you know? So it's very important, which I was doing. I was parenting out of pain.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, we look at each other as like cups, like understanding the 5 love languages. When
Mm-hmm.
we have a relationship, your husband needs to make sure your cup is full. You need to make sure your husband cup is full, so you're not walking around depleted.
Right.
So because I wanted to raise this powerful, amazing son, and I was pouring into his cup every day, I was neglecting myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was invisible. I wanted to make sure he never felt alone. I wanted to make sure he always felt seen.
Right.
But do he need to be seen? Like, I'm raising him like he ain't got a father, and I'm his father.
And you're a great father. And yeah,
you
but
know,
right,
and
but
it's
that
very
goes.
important that we don't continue that.
Mhm.
So that was what you said. You know,
No, and I loved that you shared that. How did I make myself be seen?
mm-hmm,
By flipping stuff over. And that's a great point because children are often seen as bad.
mm-hmm,
There is no bad or good child. They just are. Children, as human beings, I'm not even going to say children, adult, as human beings, we want to, again, be seen, be heard. We want to feel important and that we are loved, right? And so children, if they are not getting, if that connection isn't there, if as parents we're not there and we're not connected to our child because we're living in autopilot or going from one thing to another and we don't know what presence is, then we are going to, our child is going to ask for what they're not getting in different ways. And it may be seen as bad, tantrums, um, disrupting classes or whatever it is, right? That is viewed as bad behavior. I always say this to parents, and it's so important. They want your attention.
mm-hmm,
Get down to their level, talk to them, and just listen. Listen. Keep your own thoughts and all that stuff somewhere else for a second. Listen to what your child is saying. What do they need? The 5 love languages is such a wonderful book. And it's for children. It applies to children. They have one for children as well. And if you can understand what that is for your child, that alone will make such a big difference. But yes, the fact that you had a motivation. I wanted to be this, and that for my child because I didn't get it and I didn't want my son to feel this way. And that's a wonderful thing. You did something about it. You know what
mm-hmm,
I'm saying? You were aware enough to be able to make those changes or see what changes you needed to make.
mm-hmm.
And we all listen as parents. It's not like we are perfect or we heal something and then that makes us amazing parents. No, this is this will be growing and working on it for the rest of our lives. But we have to put that effort in. And I mean, we're
It,
human.
it's important. Like, if you really, really think about that, and I don't say that to make fun of my situation, and I don't say that to like blow over like I did that consciously, intelligently.
No.
Like, I was willing to get a whooping as long as I got my mother's attention. I was willing to get cursed at. I was willing, and my mother, like, these was them back in the day whoopings. you know, this was broom, mop, extension cord,
Cute.
hangers, and this wasn't like cute whoopings. But as long as my mother was giving me attention, you
And
know,
mm-hmm.
so think about that. I want all the parents to think about that. What are you looking at like it's negative? What are you looking at like, they're just bad? Like, my bad, like I always say, like a cake. When you ask people their favorite cake, they usually just tell you the icing. Like, oh, I like chocolate cake. I like vanilla cake. That's not the cake. That's the icing. Like, you know. So the top layer of me was bad. If you look,
Bad.
inside, well, quote
I
unquote,
knew it.
yeah, the top layer of me was misbehaving. The top layer of me was just, acting out.
Mhm.
But inside, I was hurt. Inside, I was broken. Inside, I was a 7, 8, 9 year old that didn't know how to tell anyone I was molested. So I want all parents to understand the layers, to go deeper than the top surface. That's not bad. That's communication,
Yes. Yeah.
especially when you don't have the words. How do I talk about being molested when I don't know what happened, when I don't know what went on? And I held that till I was 23, 24 years old. So think about, I always say cancer don't know it's cancer. I say that in a lot of my videos. It's just inside of you killing you.
Mhm.
So imagine walking around every day of my life holding this trauma. It's so heavy on my immune system. It's so heavy on my emotional state. This is why I have delayed emotional reactions. I don't even know when I'm supposed to cry. Like, once I started dealing with my emotions, it was I had senior citizen tears. Like, hey man, you were supposed to we were supposed to come out when you were 7 years old. Like my tears was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And I just held them in and it's like, this is why we have to find and talk and communicate and have these open spaces and have these open dialogues. And that's what you said to me. You said you don't really see too many men talk about parenting, which I encourage all the fathers out there.
Yes.
Even with my son was on all these shows around the world, and I was looking at that very naively, like, oh no, I don't feel like doing it. Not understanding how important my voice was,
Mhm.
because I can't complain about a narrative that's being put out there if I'm not willing to like talk and speak and